So I was playing my favorite gambling game, Genshin Impact, and came across this really beautiful waterfall, and I started to wonder, how the f did they animate this? As it turns out, many moving animated things in video games like fire, smoke, and even magic all work using the same simple trick. Scrolling textures, also known as UV panning, means to move a texture's UV coordinates either horizontally in the U direction or vertically in the V direction to give the illusion that complex animation is taking place. For instance, if we wanted to make a really simple waterfall, we can take this noise texture and move or pan it down the mesh of the waterfall to give the illusion of flowing water. But scrolling textures is only one piece to this puzzle. Let's take a look at Diablo 3. A lot of these really awesome VFX are using the same panning technique, but look much more alive and dynamic than all the other previous examples. So what's going on here? Well, let me show you. If we take one texture and scroll it in the U direction and take another slightly different texture and scroll it up in the V direction, we get a very interesting look when we multiply the result together. Through multiplying textures together and then using masks to turn the scrolling textures into different shapes at varying speeds, Diablo 3 is able to create very complex looking shapes and patterns without having to use very many draw calls. It's just two textures. One of the biggest advantages of using this double blending method is that you remove almost all the repetition from the scrolling texture, which makes for a much more immersive and believable animation. By layering these scrolling textures with different noises, masks, and shapes, you can create almost anything you can think of, like fire, water, smoke, poison, and an infinite amount of other things, like the waterfall I mentioned in the beginning of the video. Aside from a few VFX tricks, which I'll talk about in another video, most of this is just scrolling textures masked out at different points, and then layered together. UV panning is used everywhere. Apex Legends fakes flowing lava by scrolling a lava texture with a distortion shader to make it seem animated and alive. Or creating a fire shader is as simple as scrolling two textures up at slightly different speeds, and then just giving it a bright orange color. We can even scroll textures on curved 3D meshes to create some amazing looking trails for our game effects. Scrolling textures are used for a lot of other things in game design as well, like controlling the power of the wind for grass and trees using Perlin noise. Or by scrolling a cloud texture over the landscape material of your world, you can fake clouds passing overhead like in Genshin Impact. You can scroll textures in different channels too. By scrolling a refraction texture on a plane behind a simple fire, we can fake heat waves coming off of that fire. By scrolling a normal map in two different directions and blending the results together over a simple water shader, we can fake all of the tiny micro details you see on a body of water without having to simulate anything. So yeah, I mean, textures are pretty cool.